Um, so I just wanted to make a quick video on, just this, some, problems that I have with, transitioning and having health anxiety. Um, so, um, this is kind of like from my personal experience. I have not met anybody yet who's dealt with something like this, but I've heard people having problems with testosterone, making their anxiety worse. I haven't met anybody, like I said, that it's gotten like to where I've dealt with it. So last year, I started taking testosterone shots when I started to transition, and I was on 200 milligrams every other week, so it was pretty high dose, and it was not very consistent every 2 weeks. That leaves room for my hormones to kind of go up and down. So at that time, my anxiety started to get a lot worse, and I went on that testosterone, and I started to have panic attacks. And usually my panic attacks are always triggered by like health stuff, like every time I feel something weird in my body, or a weird sensation, or I just kind of feel weird and kind of like anxious about something in my body, I get set into a panic attack. I can't really remember me ever having a panic attack that wasn't like triggered by like a weird sensation I felt or something. So I started developing health anxiety, and started to kind of get panic attacks pretty frequently, because when you're on testosterone, your body's changing a lot, and I was on a high dose, and my body changed very quickly. Like, my voice dropped within like the first month and a half, and it creates a lot of sensations in your body. So if you have somebody with anxiety, yes, you're someone with anxiety and panic attacks, especially health anxiety, those sensations in your body are going to be kind of scary. And a lot of people don't know about that. A lot of people, who are transgender have mental illness because of, the rough hand we've been dealt, and the situations we've been in. And a lot of us have depression, a lot of us have anxiety. Not all of us, but a lot of us. And a lot of people don't know that hormones can, trigger these kinds of things in you, because your hormones are a really important part of balancing, your mood and your body, and those kinds of things. Like, hormones have a really big impact on your body, especially when you're taking them to transition. And so I wasn't expecting this, and I think the doctors and I kind of, I mentioned previously that we think that it was the hormone imbalances that triggered, the major depressive episode that I'm in, and the health anxiety especially, and everything. It was definitely a big part of the hormonal imbalances in the testosterone, because with testosterone you get like roid rage, they say. Like, you're always really irritated and really angry, and I didn't get that super bad, but I could tell that I was a lot more irritated and angry than usual, and like there was a certain time during like my cycle of 2 weeks of taking the testosterone that I noticed that I was getting more agitated, pretty frequently and stuff. So when I had my emotional breakdown back in September of last year, September 2018, I actually stopped taking my testosterone because my health anxiety got so bad that I knew that if I kept taking the testosterone, I would only make it 10, 20 times worse, because I was having really bad panic attacks, and I wanted to heal from, all, the panic disorder and the anxiety disorder and the health anxiety, especially before I went back on testosterone. So it's put a stop on my transition, and I was only on testosterone for about 6 to 7 months, and I had to stop. And I've been off of it now for 6 to 7 months, I think. So pretty much my body has almost reverted back. Like, I lost all my muscle mass. I lost, my body went back to looking very feminine. My shoulders were very broad before, they're not anymore. My face slimmed down again, And, I still get some facial hair growing in, but it's nothing like it was. And, my voice obviously has stayed the same. That's the only thing really that has stayed the same was my voice. So I'm pretty bummed out that, that progress I made is now gone because of this situation I've been put in. So I wanted to make this video as kind of like an awareness. Like, if you have anxiety or you have kind of mental illness problems and everything, take that into account when you're looking to transition, because it can cause problems. Like, I would just make sure you're ready to handle that if it does come up. Make sure you're seeing a therapist, or you're on medication, or if you're not on medication, you're doing natural ways, natural things to help you, and be prepared to, to deal with that kind of stress on your body, because it is a lot. And from what I understand, there are ways to avoid this as well, because I was on a very high, I was on a high dose, and I was doing it every other week. And so far, I've talked to my endocrinologists, 2 or 3 of them, that have said, you might be better off. You might have not had those problems, be it on a, like, if you started on a really low dose, like 50 milligrams, and you took that weekly. So, like, I took, 50 milligram shot every week. At that point, your hormones have a baseline, and they're not going up and down like mine were. And, that's the hormonal fluctuations and stuff like that is what causes the panic and the anxiety and all that to rise. But if you have a baseline for your hormones, and you're staying consistent with it, and it's low dose, so I'm not like pumping 200 milligrams in me, after my testosterone levels are really low, and then I pump 200 milligrams in me, and all of a sudden, my testosterone levels skyrocket. Like, at this point, you're taking it weekly, it's a low dose, so it's just kind of like a steady hormone baseline. And the doctors and the endocrinologists, they told me that when I do get back on testosterone, that's going to be the best bet for me to get back on it. And sure, it's upsetting, because then, your transition is going to be even slower, but, that's way better than, being stuck like this, like not being able to be on testosterone, and it sucks, and, I'm really dysphoric again, and I'm getting misgendered, like, every time I go out again, and, like, that had stopped at a certain point, but, this sucks, and I'd rather, be on a low dose and make my transition go slow than, not be transitioning at all any longer. And I don't want to, like, say any of this to scare anybody into, like, being on hormones and everything. I just think that if you have, like, any anxiety disorders or depression, mood disorders, make sure you bring that up with, your doctors and your endocrinologist, whoever is helping you start to make those hormone therapy changes and stuff, and let them know that, you don't want to be on some, dose in a certain amount of time that's going to make your hormones, bounce up and down. Like, you want something that's going to, make sure you're at a healthy baseline, your hormones are regulated, and you're safe, and, you're gonna have some kind of, like, medications or therapy to combat any excess anxieties or things like that, or panic that might come up. You just want to be prepared for that. You want to be prepared for, it's a big change in your life. You're changing your body and your body chemistry and everything. So you gotta take everything into consideration when you're going through that transition. So I want to put that out there. I want to put my experience out there, so that it doesn't happen to anybody else, because nobody wants to have to stop their transition to deal with this kind of stuff. It's a scary thing, scary stuff, and you just want to be prepared for that. And you want to transition in a healthy way and smoothly. So don't jump into it right away, like I did on a high dose and all that and everything. It stopped my transition. So yeah, I think that's about it. If you have any questions, like I said before, my email's down below. You can always email me, and I will respond. If you have any like comments that you think help, like if you've had an experience like this before, or if you can tell me anything like about like the health, and stuff like that goes into this, like with hormones and everything, because I'm not a scientist, I'm not a doctor, I just know what happened with my body. So I don't know, that's about it. So I will see you guys in the next video, and I guess if you're recovering from mental illness, keep trucking on, because that's all we can do, one day at a time.